Okay, so yes, we're live now. So guys, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to you, depending on what time you are listening to this recording. This live session rather. So today, as usual, we do not have as is supposed, we do not have Sina Khan on the call for some reasons. She's not here today, and she really apologized for missing today's event. Just in case you were waiting to hear PL 900 from Sina. So today's own is going to be on SC900. So the reason why the Pillars concept team or the Pillars Cloud Technology team decided to bring this up to the screen is because a lot of persons are currently preparing for their SC900, MS-900 examination. And it would really be great if we could walk through the series itself and see how we can better prepare ourselves for examinations. And for those that are looking forward to jumping into the field, can actually have a way and a very smooth way to start their studies, right? And that's why we are really here today to have that conversation. So it's strictly going to be on the steps that you need to walk through. So in some of my live events in this week, I have been able to also walk through the introduction to cloud and the cloud concept as a whole. But today's own is going to be form of a way of going the next step, right, to see how it really goes, and then see how you could interact with the applications within the software as a service path of the cloud computing, which is like a service model, right, within the cloud computing space. So for those who are already experienced in the cloud space, today's session is going to be very elementary. But for those who are new, right? It will be a very nice way of to handhold you into the field of cloud technologies. And even if you are well experienced, you may just want to spend some time to see how we are doing here, so that you can also learn from perhaps the new updates from these applications, or also help you to refresh your mind regarding how some things that are so basic can also seem, right. So I'll be sharing my screen in a bit, and I want to do that now. I have very beautiful slides um, from MCTC that I would like to use to explain some of the basic concepts that we have structured together by the Microsoft Learn for people to really learn MS-900, right? So I'm going to be pulling this guide to the screen that I am displaying right now. And come to this screen. That's where I want it to be, yes. So I would be doing my slideshow from the very, very beginning, and really will take it very, very slowly. I want to do slideshow from the beginning, yes. So also note that there's an event coming up tomorrow on my platforms, which cuts across Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, on TikTok. Just in case you want to have like a recap of these sessions, you can also try to follow through with those sessions, right? And also, if you have questions while we are having this, for those on LinkedIn, you can drop it on the comments. We have a team here available to respond to you. If you've not followed the Pillars Cloud Technologies page, you may also want to give it a follow and perhaps drop your questions on that page, and the admin is very, very responsive. I believe that you will get the kind of response that you need and the attention that is required. And then if you're on Facebook also, you can drop it on the comment section if you have a question. If you need a career guide, a career coach, you may just want to also let us know. We'll be happy to guide you and hold you in the journey, right? And then if you are someone who, if you are also joining on YouTube, right? Yeah, you can drop your comment on TikTok also. You can just drop a DM for us, and we'll be happy to, give you response to it. So today we are going to be talking about the Microsoft 365 fundamentals, and we are describing the Microsoft 365 applications and services. So when we're talking about Microsoft 365, or when we are talking about the cloud technologies as a whole, we had earlier mentioned that cloud technology has a different way in which cloud services are deployed. They can be deployed in terms of you adopting a private cloud where it is only unique to your organization. You can have situations where you where it is being presented to you as in form of how do I call it, a public cloud where you also have the usage as well as other organization, which means is that you don't have a physical boundary that actually segments your own access to those services from the other organizations, right? So you like a publicly available service that people go to subscribe to as a matter of what's it called, service level agreement between you and the CSP, which is also called the cloud service provider. Then you can have instances also where you want to keep some workload in your private cloud space and then put some in the public cloud space, and that's what is called the hybrid cloud. Then talking about this, we also have the service models. So the service models cut across the software as a service, the infrastructure as a service, and then the platform as a service. Or if you want to arrange them in an increasing order, you could just want to say, okay, that you go from infrastructure as a service to platform as a service and then to software as a service. So what I want to say, just to give a background of where M365 or what you hear Microsoft 365 is coming into or coming in from, it's from the software as a service solution of the Microsoft cloud technology space, right? So we're talking about, so it's a public cloud, first of all, it's a public cloud, and the service model that M365 belongs to is software as a service, right? Why, in terms of the deployment model, it is public cloud. So the reason why I'm taking time to actually say something, I think I try to repeat some things about this, is service models, deployment models have confused a lot of persons. So anytime you hear the word types of cloud, just know that they are talking about the deployment model. I'm talking about this because of those that are writing exams, right? Sometimes if you hear types of cloud and then you have service model, you can quickly understand that, okay, types of cloud is talking about the private, public, and hybrid. Then when you see service model, then you want to know that it is infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. But when they come to say deployment model and service model, some people would mistakenly call deployment model software as a service, infrastructure as a service, and like that. No. So you need to quickly understand that if there's a types of cloud, right, it is the same thing as deployment model. If they say service model is service model, where you have the IaaS, the PaaS, the SaaS, right? So please take note of these two things so that you don't get confused when you are having conversation with professionals or when you are leading a thought, or even when you are writing an examination. You should know where that is. So now, just to reemphasize, Microsoft 365 is under public cloud deployment model, right? And it is under software as a service when you speak about service model. So I'm sure that will make sense to a lot of people, right? So at this time, we'll go into what we want to cover in today's conversations. So we'll be having a conversation around what M365 really is, right? Already we know that it is a software as a service solution just on the surface, right? And then it is a public cloud deployment, right? And then you talk about describing the productivity solutions that Microsoft 365 actually brings, right? So we can talk about the collaborative solution that comes with Microsoft 365. Then we can talk about the devices and the cloud endpoint management concept and deployment option in Microsoft 365. So we can also talk about the analytics and the administrative capabilities that are available while you use this service, okay? Because these topics are very, very important. Now, we are going to be dealing with module 1 in this conversation, and anywhere we get to, when we have module 1 finished, we can look at questions if we have questions to respond to, because this is what we are really going to focus on, to have like a deep conversation about what is Microsoft 365. So we're expecting that in this module, when we are done with today's conversation, that you should be able to describe Microsoft 365 and Office 365 and the difference between them, right? Because this is something that a lot of persons get a lot of confusions about. If you want to describe or differentiate, or when you want to define M365, are you sure that you're not defining O365? And when you are describing or defining O365, are you sure that you're not talking about M365? And if you are able to define them separately, are you able to spot out the differences between the M365 and the O365? That's a question that you want to check, right? Then we'll talk about how to describe, or you should be able to describe how Microsoft 365 empowers both hybrid and flexible work, including support for frontline workers. So who are really the frontline workers? So by the end of today's conversation, you should be able to understand who the first line workers are. Then you should also be able to describe Microsoft 365 Copilot and Microsoft 365 Copilot charts and the differences between them. Now, we are actually, not because AI just emanated, AI has been since the 50s from history, right? But the availability or the presence of AI now in an everyday work of every individual is something that's worth studying to understand how this principle actually operates. Right, so we should be able to describe the Microsoft 365 Copilots, the Microsoft 365 Copilot charts, and then we should be able to distinguish between them. Very, very important in these days and age and time that we are. Now, I'm going to pick up a pen because I like to do a lot of analysis when we do things like this. Excuse me. So what is Microsoft 365? So we are saying that it is a cloud-powered productivity platform that brings together the best in-class productivity apps from Microsoft 365 with advanced device management, intelligence, security, innovation, and online services. In short, this is a very nice, comprehensive definition. But if you do not break it down in a way that anybody can understand, it may look to be a bit complex to people who are new to the field, right? But that's why we are here, to make sure that we're able to explain every bit of this line of definition so that you can rephrase it in the form that actually fits you. Remember that we are talking about Microsoft 365, right? First of all, you have to know that it is a cloud-powered, or it is cloud-powered. You need to take care of this. So what does it mean to be cloud-powered? It means that you can only access M365 over the internet. So what is powering the access to M365 is the internet. So it is a cloud-based solution. So you can call it a cloud-based solution. And the essence of it is to boost productivity among your colleague, right? And then what it does is that it integrates the best applications or your everyday applications that you use, right? With advanced device management, when you talk about this other parts, advanced device management here, right? That's why specifically is talking about M365, right? Advanced device management is coming from the devices that you now look at it, is a cloud-powered productivity platform. We know this. So we can call it is a cloud-based productivity platform, right? That brings together applications. What are those applications? You see Word, you see PowerPoint, right? You see you see Word, PowerPoint, you see Excel, right? You see Teams, right? You see SharePoint, right? You see your Outlook, which is just like Exchange by the background, right? Then you have your OneDrive, you have your OneNote, right? You have your, just name them. You have your projects, you have your planner, right? Then you have your Sway. You can mention all and all and all. But the traditional applications that you use, your Word, your PowerPoints, your what's here again, Excel. These are popularly used application. So it brings together this application plus collaboration tools. Like you talk about Teams, is a major collaboration tool, like the collaboration hub. Then you talk about your emails. M365 brings them together, all together in the same place. You can talk about your OneDrive, right? Your OneDrive is also brought together there, which is for your file storage. So the files you're going to work on from your Word, from your PowerPoint, from your Excel, all is going to be saved either to your OneDrive or to your SharePoint site, as the case may be, depending on who is having those files. Personal files are saved to OneDrive, while a group or a Teams file is saved to SharePoint. Now, if we look at it from that angle, right, we can say that Microsoft 365 brings together is a cloud-based solution to start with, brings together your traditional application and more applications that aid collaboration and integration, right? In that way, whatever activities that are going on in your traditional application will have a place to be saved. You have a place to easily share them. Let's say, for example, sharing them on Teams. You can also email them to your colleagues. So, and people from outside can truly reach out to you. You can join their meetings and all of that. But why M365 is doing all of this? It is taking control or taking into consideration the applications that you are using to access these resources, because one, your resources need to be secure, right? Your resources need to really be secure, just so that, and if your resources must be secure, what it means is your devices should be visible, right? They should be visible. And then these devices are intelligent, right? These devices come with intelligent security, just to make sure that whatever that is happening within those devices, so the data that you have in those files, are being tracked and monitored. Now, what comes with this actually is that you have all the liberty to have a lot of innovative thoughts, to customize a lot of features that would work for you within M365. Now, having spoken about all of these like in a very detailed form, we'll now give it in another line of possibly description that you can derive your own definition from. So what is Microsoft 365? It's a cloud-based productivity platform that integrates both our traditional applications and more advanced tools that will boost our productivities and collaboration on our daily job, right? While putting consideration to the devices that we use to access those data in terms of security, and then as well as compliance within those apps, right? So Microsoft 365 will help you to drive productivity, which is like the underlying reason behind that solution. And then it boosts your collaboration in terms of having communications within Teams, sharing files within SharePoints, sharing files from OneDrive to individual, and all this can be done securely across the good thing is across many devices, right? So when you had the file server on premises, you could share files, right? But the files can only be shared across Windows devices. But if you are using Microsoft 365, you can also share your files, not just on your Windows devices. You can share to Mac OS, you can even share to your mobile devices, and they can be accessible, right? And because these are publicly accessible over the internet, so long you have the proper access, you can access whatever file on whichever device, wherever you are, either from home, from office, outside of the field, on anywhere that you are, and on a go, even when you're on the vehicle traveling. So you have Microsoft 365 available for home use. You also have for business, and then you have for enterprise. And then the real question is that what is the difference between a business and enterprise? That's what anybody wants to ask now. If anybody is trying to give this a second look, right? Because you want to think that there should be no difference between business and enterprise. But by way of licensing Microsoft, of course, home is not something you want to negotiate. It's already clear. Subscription for home use, right? Then for business, if your business is under 300 employees, then your your company or your business or your firm can be referred to as business. But anything that makes you rise up to 300 and above, we can tag you as enterprise. So we can say this is less than 300, and then enterprise is 300, equal to or greater than 300 is an enterprise. Just so if you need any form of explanation on any of these topics. Okay, so Microsoft 365 for business and enterprise. Microsoft 365 operates as a shared responsibility service. What does it mean to be shared responsibility? It means that Microsoft is taking care of some of the things for you while you are taking care of some things by yourself. So this means that while Microsoft manages the infrastructure behind the service, right, to you, they manage the infrastructure, they also manage the platform, right? They manage whatever that the codes that are running within that platform, but your organization should control how services are configured for the end users in terms of what? Security, especially user provisioning of accounts. It is your responsibility to make sure that the passwords are well secure, your data are shared with adequate knowledge while people, make use of the application on a day-to-day, right? So it is very important for you to know that while Microsoft is in charge of the infrastructure, the platform, and all regarding your services, you should know that you are responsible for the security, to make sure that you use the security features available within the service to secure your data and your user account appropriately. So Microsoft 365 provides foundational services, which include one, Office app. What are Office app, right? Office app can include web Word, web Excel, web PowerPoints, and so on. So this one good thing about it is that you can access them both on the web, right, and even on the mobile. Like say your Word, right? You can access it on Word, on the web, on the laptop, or you can access it even on your mobile phone as well. Then there is email and calendaring, which come from Exchange as a service provided within the M365. So the email service is resident on Exchange and uses Outlook as the interface from which the user receives and sends email. So, but from the back end, Exchange is actually what makes the emails possible. While in the calendar service, the Exchange Web Service (EWS) is what actually foster calendar, and all of this is tied to the Exchange Online service. Right, so we talk about file storage that comes with Microsoft 365. File storage, there are two major file storage platforms here. One is your OneDrive, and the second one is your SharePoint. So it takes care of that. Just so when you create files or data from your Office application, they are saved to either your OneDrive or your SharePoint, depending on the ownership, right? And then teamwork and collaboration comes with Teams. So Teams is actually coming from a very long conversation. Teams has been, not that Teams itself, but the concept behind Teams work has been from Link 2013 to when we have Skype for Business Online. The retirement of Skype for Business Online took place in sometime in August 2021, yes, and then Teams has come to be. So Teams has a way for you to chat. It has a way for you to schedule meeting within channels and all of that, right? And then it foster communication because you could also even make voice call and even video calls as well. You can do screen sharing. There are three major media when you come to talk about Teams. That is about screen sharing, it's about video, and about your voice over internet protocol calls, right? So you can do that. So now you have a secure AI chat assistant powered by ChatGPT 4. So that is why that's what we mentioned when we said Copilot chats, right? So the AI behind Copilot itself is ChatGPT 4.0, right? So, and while you use your application within Microsoft Teams, there is identity management. Identity management speaks to you must create a user account, right, to access whatever services. And when you create a user account, the user before can access your environment, right, first must have to authenticate, and then the user has to get authorized. And when this user is authorized, the user will have access based on what is called least privilege access, or just enough access. And that is where security comes into play in Microsoft 365. And why users are making use of this, compliance requirements are strictly in place in terms of trying to say what data somebody should have access to, and then how data should be shared, in terms of labeling your data, or trying to maybe set retention policy to say when data is going to be deleted or how long they should be retained. That speaks to compliance. So security is there, and then identity management is a very big topic when you go advanced in this field. But for now, just know that Microsoft 365 provide the fundamental services, which include Office application, like I mentioned, email and calendaring features, and then file storage, which is also very important, and then teamwork and collaboration, secure AI, which is coming from Copilot and Copilot chat, and then security, compliance, and identity management. Then one very important one is the device management, and what actually handles device management is Microsoft Intune. So Microsoft Intune collaborating with security, Microsoft Security, or what is called Microsoft Defender, and also the Compliance Admin Center, which is also called the Microsoft Purview, put together. Then the Intune Admin Center can actually be used to configure and then to manage the devices which you are using to access the services that are being provisioned by Microsoft 365. And now we spoke about, just to give you a little background before we go into all this detail, we spoke about you have Teams, right? So from Teams, you are able to you create a document from Word, right? And then from Word, you're able to share with somebody in Teams, right? And somebody in Teams can see that and then access it either on the web or on the application or even within Teams. If you also send an email to somebody, let's say, for example, you share that same file with somebody from OneDrive, right? That OneDrive sent an email to the person to say that a file was shared with you. So now the question is, how was a file shared from OneDrive able to notify somebody via email without the person necessarily sending an email? It is because there is actually a chain that is unholding your OneDrive configuration to your emails. Let's say also, for example, you have a Microsoft Forms that users fill. How does it work where the form will send an email to somebody's mailbox to say someone has submitted a response? Right? So how would the person who shared a file via OneDrive to somebody who accessed it in Teams, and this person was given, let's say, a read-only access, and the person is trying to download the file, right? If it was restricted view, say for example, you should be able to view but not able to download, right? And you want to download, how is the system able to know that from OneDrive, the permission you have on the file is to just view, and you should not be able to download? So that communication, what is powering it? And that is what really we want to be discussing about, and that is relating to Microsoft Graph, right? So Microsoft Graph is actually a gateway to reach people-centered data and intelligence in Microsoft. I want you to take note of the word intelligence, right? I was talking about knowing fully well that this has been shared, and the best way to reach out to this person is to send an email to him. So how was it able to know the email address of this person in Outlook when the email address was only typed here in OneDrive, as the case may be? And then how was it able to know that this person does not have the permission to download the file, right? That is what you can be talking about when you say intelligence. Microsoft Graph make it easy to stay connected to your work no matter what device you are. So let's say, for example, you sign into your mobile phone, right? You accessed a file, and then on the your computer, right? Say on the Windows device, you are trying to search for that same file and it is not there. But if you bring up your iPad, you open that file and you're able to see it. It is misleading, right? So Microsoft Graph work is to make sure that whatever access you have, whatever you could see from your mobile phone, you also can have that access when you try to visit that same site or open that same application from your laptop. And if you also go to your iPad to try to open it, you have equal access to it, right? Without it is saved in the same folder, right? Have the same access to that same file, and it is in the same location that you can trace it on both of the devices that you are making use of. So it helps you stay connected. Whatever device you are on, you could access that same file. And then again, Microsoft 365 learn from users and collect insight through Microsoft Graph by analyzing user data and activities across different Microsoft products and services. For example, you can decide to say you set if so proof intelligence, I would say, for example, where, for example, a user can only send, let's say, 20 emails within a week, right? A user sent 20 emails within a week, and Microsoft Graph is learning that user's activity, right? So Microsoft 365 actually learn from users and collect insight through Microsoft Graph, right? Microsoft Graph is keeping a track of this guy only sends 20 emails per day. So, and for the last 1 year, he has only sent 20 emails. Last 2 years, 3 years, he has only sent maximum of 20 emails. But suddenly, on one day, there were 2,000 emails going out from that mailbox. Or let's even say 200 going out from that mailbox. The system would have known that Microsoft Graph had been keeping track of what was happening in this user's mailbox to know that he has been sending just 20 emails, and then the emails should be deprived from going out because it is possible that the account has been compromised and it is just used to send spam emails to users, right? So what it does is I collect this insight through Microsoft Graph by analyzing user data and activities across different Microsoft products and services. Different Microsoft products and services include your emails, include your team's activities, and so on, right? So Microsoft Graph plays a vital role in Microsoft 365 Copilot and AI-powered productivity tool coming soon in Microsoft 365, which is already there, right? So now let me tell you something about this particular last line because it is one of the most recent knowledge that somebody should be aware of. Let's say, for example, you are, when you talk about AI, there's a fear around data oversharing, right? So now, if, for example, a user is requesting, so let me just bring up my paint because my board here is not big enough. I may want to use paint to explain something that you can also reference in some standard Microsoft materials. Okay, so I will just try to just give like a general sense of something. Now we have this here. I'm trying to see how it could be. So let's say we have another thing here, right? And then we have another one here, right? So if this is where a user is, if a user is trying to use chat, you're going to use Copilot chats to request the processing of data. Let's say this is where the user is sitting. I mean, just need to write something. This is where the user is sitting, and then this is where the data is, right? This is where the data is, and then this is where let's call this Microsoft Graph. So this guy is trying to use here Copilot charts or Copilots or M365 Copilot. Just something that do M365 Copilot. Now what happens is that the user writes a prompt. When the user prompts this system, the system goes to where the data is resident, and using large language model, right, the system tries to understand what this guy is describing to achieve from where the knowledge source of what this guy is looking for is, right? So once it's able to discover that, okay, this is what this guy is saying, right, using LLM to understand what the guy is prompting, and then when it comes to this place to put that data together to confirm it, it does not send it back to the guy here. What it does, the system send it to Microsoft Graph, right, to confirm if this guy that is requesting for this access have permission to the data that is being queried before the information gets to this particular user as an output. So it does not just prompt and the system gives back the feedback. No. So the system actually check using LLM to understand the prompt that is coming on, and then it uses that detail to check if that user has the required permission to be able to access the file that he or she is really asking for. Then if the user has that access, then definitely they can go ahead to have to grant that access to the user. So that's how it actually works, right? I'm just trying to take care of my lightning here. Okay. So that said, we'll just go on now to explain further what we have here. Just give me a second. All right, so let's move on, please, quickly, because there is actually no time. So that's what happened in terms of Microsoft Graph and access to data, right? So what happens here, if you look at this diagram that is present here, you will really see that from there is interaction teams here, there is charts, and then you have calendar, you have files, you have message. So Microsoft Graph can maybe be seen as that web, right? Is a web that is holding all the services and activities together within Microsoft Teams, synchronizing and understanding the changes, the differences that are occurring while a user is having interaction and activities within all the platforms. And that's why you can really use email address to share a file with somebody. And that's why you can really use email address to call somebody and then the call will go through, right? So that is the work of Microsoft Graph. So now, we are talking about the differences because we mentioned earlier the differences between Office 365 and Microsoft 365. Basically, just note mathematically before we even go on, just to set a precedent, that Microsoft 365 is Office 365, right? Let's just put O365, right? Plus, so M365 is equal to O365 plus something. So just hold on now, we'll look at that. So I want you to set this formula in your mind first, very important, right? So cloud-based service that include applications such as Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, along with services such as Microsoft Exchange, SharePoint, Teams, and OneDrive. This we have used to explain the Microsoft 365. Right? But this is not yet Microsoft 365, but Office 365. It is M365 only when you have this. So it's a cloud-based service that includes the same Office application, same as what? Same as this, right? And services that are available. What are the services? These are the services. SharePoint, OneDrive. What are the apps? Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, right? What are the services? Teams, SharePoint, OneDrive, and so on. Then, apart from that, plus Windows 10, Windows 10 or 11, and EMNS, EMNS. So what is EMNS? So we are saying that Microsoft 365 is Office 365 plus Windows 10 or 11 plus enterprise mobility and security. Enterprise mobility and security. So it's a combination of Office 365 and Windows 10 and 11 license and enterprise mobility plus security. So that's what makes M365 different from O365. So you can say M365, you can define Office 365 as the cloud service that include the traditional applications and the services offered by Microsoft. Yes. But if you want to talk about the security track of it and the Windows 11 presence there, then you are talking about M365. I really hope that is making sense now. So hybrid work, flexible work, and frontline workers, who are they? What is the meaning of hybrid work? If you are going traditional, that is, you are going to the office to work every day, and then in person, right, which is the traditional way of working. And then if you're also working remotely, that is, you go to office on Monday and Tuesday, and then on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, you work from home. That can be termed to as hybrid work. And this is actually very, very useful for people using Microsoft 365, because if you were using your traditional Windows server only, you may probably have to be going to the office each time, unless maybe you are connected to VPN sometimes, right? But with M365 or O365, as the case may be, you have access to work remotely and you also have access to work from from the office. Yeah, that's correct. Now, flexible work is there. So it's a combination of remote work and in-person days that work best for you. So flexible work is actually hybrid, to be very honest. Then who are frontline workers? Frontline workers are those whose functions is actually to just give me a sec. I think I see someone in the meeting whose video is showing up. Space. Emmanuel, do you want to turn off your camera? I think that's coming from your end. Thank you. Please check very quickly.
You beg make them off this.
All right, so apologies for that mix-up. I'm sure he was trying to turn off his camera and he put on his audio. So that's just to mention to people out there that we have people joining these meetings in Teams as well. So that's why you're having that call back. Apologies for that. So employees whose primary function is to work directly with customers or the general public, providing services, support, and selling products, or employee directly involved in manufacturing that can be turned to as frontline workers, your delivery officers, your people at the front desk who are just attending to customers directly, or people who are working on a goal can really use Microsoft 365 services within an environment. So Microsoft 365 actually empowers workers in both hybrid, in remote work, right? And even those that are on-prem. So M365 can help your organization meet diverse need of all workers connected. So you stay connected from anywhere in the world at any time with cloud-based services. And then when you talk about security, it is secure in terms of signing. And of course, there is also availability of multi-factor authentication. And then there is that's one thing that will be recommended for you, right? So, and there is built-in security feature to protect against malicious software, malicious attack, and even data loss as well. So there is protection against all of that. Then when it comes to managed, of course, you can manage your work devices from the cloud with security settings that allow applications to require some particular level of compliance before they can work. For example, you can see if machines are not joined to your domain, nobody should be able to access your work resources from there. That's an instance, right? Or you can say if Windows Defender Firewall is not enabled on any device, then they should not be able to access your application. You can write a lot of conditions that will determine when applications are where applications should be accessible. You could even go as far as saying that in some particular regions across the world, that your data should not, your accounts, people should not be able to sign in there using what is called the conditional access policy, what is popularly called CAP, right? And then productive and collaborative. Of course, you can stay connected and productive with online meetings, your chat, your shared workspace, and your automated business process while in Microsoft Teams. And Microsoft Teams actually helps you to integrate a lot of application into the system. And then employee experience also. It's nice, foster inclusive company culture and increase employees' well-being. You can do a lot with Microsoft 365, honestly. So we'll just try to wrap up with this, right? The Microsoft 365 Copilot experience. So there is Microsoft 365 Copilot chat, right? A lot of people don't, because sure, this is actually new, so a lot of people don't really know how to differentiate them yet. And then Microsoft 365 Copilot. So this is free, right? It is free. This is $30 per user per month. So once you have Microsoft 365 subscription, then you are going to have Microsoft 365 Copilot chats. So it's a cross app chat experience at the center of Microsoft 365. It serves as an AI, the go-to chat, and is available at no additional cost with your Microsoft 365 Copilot subscription, powered by GPT 4.0 and LLM with web grounding capability. So what this means is that so long you have Microsoft Entra, right? Once you subscribe for Microsoft 365, then you have access to Microsoft Entra, then you can use the Copilot chat for free. But the Microsoft 365 Copilot, it is the full featured best-in-class personal AI assistant. So it includes everything Copilot Chat offers, right, and more when you add Microsoft 365 Copilot license, right, powered by the same AI, right, and connected through Microsoft Graph. You can see this is not connected through Microsoft Graph here. And into the Microsoft 365 application, you use look at it. So what this means is that for Copilot Chats, it's just a guide that you can ask questions normally, like your chatbots, right? You could ask it. But what makes M365 Copilot stands out is that it uses the Microsoft Graph to understand that when you are going to Word, it follows you down to Word. When you are going to PowerPoint, it follows you down to PowerPoint. When you are going to Teams, it follows you down to Teams. When you are going to Outlook, it follows you down to Outlook. And therefore, what it means is that when you are in Outlook, you can actually ask it to check the meeting that you have scheduled. And let's just say you have a meeting scheduled from Microsoft Teams, right? Of course, because you know that Teams and Outlook shares the same calendar, that meeting is going to show up in Outlook, right? And let's say now, while in Outlook, you ask the Copilot chat, no, not Copilot chat, but the Copilot 365 here, right, about the meetings you have scheduled. Really, it will come into Outlook to check and then give you the output of the meeting that you have scheduled. But let's not even say you are signing to any application. If you are here in the Copilot chat windows of the M365, which we are going to demonstrate before we leave here today, it can actually go into your system and try to check for you all the meetings that you have coming up, right? And it can really explain them to you. No, now it is better that we have this as a demo, just so we can really understand what we are talking about. I'm bringing up a system that I have, that I do not have Copilot license, and I'm just going to sign into office.com, right? So if I sign into office.com, what are we going to have? I have Copilot charts. What the experience I have here right now is the Copilot charts, right? But I'm going to bring up another system, right, that would go beyond this, which is the M365 Copilot. Just give me some time. Let me also bring that up right here, right now. I'm coming here now and I'm doing office.com on another browser that I'm bringing up soon. So if you look at this, right, I'll just do this. If you look at this, I can ask a question, right? What is Microsoft 365? Remember, I don't have any license here. So what happens is that it goes in very quickly, as you can see, and then tries to go into definitions. Is a subscription-based suite or productivity tool and cloud services developed by Microsoft. It includes a variety of applications and services designed for both personal and business and all of that, right? Now, if I ask this system, what meetings do I have coming up? Now, because it does not use Microsoft Graph, right? It is not seeing what I have. Now look at it. To check your upcoming meetings, I will need access to your calendar. Because this does not speak to Microsoft Graph, then it definitely needs access to my calendar, such as your Microsoft 365, right? Your Google Calendar, or any other scheduling tool that you use. Now, because it does not have access to Microsoft Graph, you look at this again, you see that here it's saying that it is connected through Microsoft Graph. Look at this, connected through Microsoft Graph. That is the one that has license. So now this is the stoppage of this. It could answer me like a bot, right? And give me details, but it cannot go into my Office applications. But what experience am I going to have here? Now, for example, if I say, what emails, for example, what are the emails that I have not attended to? I have not attended to. Now, I want to copy this and hold it. Now, let me send this. You see what happens? I can't access your email directly, so I can't see what emails you haven't attended to. However, I can guide you on how you can check your emails, unread emails, right? Now, let me take this prompt here, right? And I'm bringing up another, because people need to really understand these differences. I'm bringing up this right now on the screen. And this environment is not the Copilot charts. So, and again, if you look up here, you see work, you see web, right? You see work, you see web, right? But if you come to this other one, you will not see anything like work or web here. You will just see today, right? Now, if you see this work or web, what it means is that the account that I'm signed into at the moment has access to the Copilot license. Of course, now, if I paste that first link, what meeting do I have coming up? Now let's look at the experience we are going to have. Now, the reason why it is able to do what it's going to do now, it is because it has access to Microsoft Graph. Now, can you see? It is saying that you have upcoming meetings scheduled. Here are the key ones coming up soon. Microsoft 365 Copilot and AI, organized by this person, when it's on Saturday, by 14 days. And this is actually the meeting link, to be very honest. And then look at this one. It's saying that there's TMCC 2025 series coming up when Sunday by this and this. This meeting overlap with several others. It's just giving me more information. Why is he able to do this? Because is able to use Microsoft Graph to get into my Outlook from that chart and give me details of what I want. Now I'm bringing this up again, and what I'm going to do now is to put in the second prompt, right, that I provided in the other one. What emails have I not attended to? The same prompt, right? Now look at what it will do. It will go and comb through my Outlook and then check the emails that I've not attended to. And then if you look at it, right, it is going to bring those ones out. And what are those? Now it is saying that I have my first email, a large protection, security and system alerts. That's one email I've not attended to. Productivity and automation tool that I've not attended to. Access review, I've not attended to. So if I come here, for example, and I come to, let's say quickly, of course, something changed here, right? That you also need to be aware of. You cannot really see the app launcher here now, but I don't want to talk about that. We can talk about that in subsequent advanced classes. So I want to just open outlook.office.com just so you can see the emails that they are talking about. So how was it able to see my email? It is because Microsoft Graph was able to grant it the required permission to go check and see that these are the emails I have not attended to, right? Look at it, your protected SaaS and all of this. These are the emails, really. And if you go check my calendar, right? If you go check my calendar, you will really see that those meetings that it is asking for, let me see, those meetings that it is telling me about are meetings that are holding on Sundays, right? On every Sunday that I have these meetings. Look at them. Look at the meeting it was talking about Copilot and AI track, then talking about the pillars concepts, overlapping meetings that are there, right? Look at it, the TMCC, what's it called? 2025 series. So it was able to see that. And the good thing about this is I could also just say that it should help me respond to any of these emails. So if I come into this email, for example, I can decide to summarize what the email is talking about. So it will go into this email and help me do a summary of what the email is talking about. And I can also compose a mail to respond to these people, and Copilot is able to help me do that. So what is the system actually doing? In this case, the system is able to understand, right? Is able to understand the communication happening. And if you look at up here, right, I spoke about the compliance, right? You can see this email when I want to send it out. It tells me that I have prevent Copilot processing confidential information. I have all of this, right, as my sensitivity label that I can decide to take care of, right? So this is how it all works. So there's an integration between the Copilot 365 and the charts. Okay, the Copilot 365 and other application through the Microsoft Graph. So that is for Microsoft 365 Copilot and the Copilot chart. So if you really want to further this learning also, you may just want to stick to my personal channel. This is a group one now. Tomorrow by 10 a.m., I will also be live to have like demonstrations around this. So today we've been able to see what the definition of Microsoft 365 is, and then we have been able to look at the productivity solutions that come up with Microsoft 365. We're also able to describe the collaboration solution that comes with Microsoft 365 in terms of Microsoft Teams, in terms of call it SharePoint, your OneDrive in terms of sharing, and then we spoke a lot about this. What about describing devices and cloud endpoint management from Intune and all of that? We also spoke about this, and then we have been able to. So for the administrative capability available in M365, we would be dealing with this also probably in the tomorrow session. So this is actually tied to an hour, and we truly have to end this live stream at this time. So I want to sincerely say thank you on behalf of the team sitting here in Microsoft Teams, from the Pillars Concepts and now the Pillars Cloud Technology team. I want to say thank you very much, and we hope that you're really going to have a wonderful evening out there. And for those on different time zone, we hope that you're going to have a wonderful time out there. Thank you very much and have a wonderful day. Bye.